Haus Schwepcke, and I want to give you a slightly longer introduction into this. It's not too long, but to set the scene for what we're doing tonight. It all started with a poem, which Anthea Bell beautifully translated in memory of Werner Mark Linz, when the pain felt at the loss of this inspirational man was still raw. For me, it perfectly symbolized his life, first as the founder of the New York publishing house Continuum, and then as the director of the American University in Cairo Press. The ginkgo, that eastern tree, in my garden plot now grows. In its leaf there seems to be a secret that the wise man knows. Is that leaf one and lonely, in itself in two divided? Is it two that have decided to be seen as one leaf only? To such questions I reply, do not my love songs say to you, should you ever wonder why I sing that I am one, yet two? Johann Wolfgang von Goethe sent this poem to his beloved friend Marianne von Willemer as a token of his affection. He pasted two dried, crossed leaves of this ancient tree below the three stanzas and dated it the 15th of September, 1815. Now you know why you're here. Goethe, Germany's greatest poet and polymath, natural scientist, statesman, and true cosmopolite, had picked the ginkgo leaf as the symbol of hope, long life, and above all, deep affection. The poem was his ode to friendship and symbolized the union between old and young, man and woman, human and the divine, literature and scholarship, but above all, East and West. A union which, in his mind, was inseparable. And so in Weimar, at the base of the Divan monument, it says, know yourself, and in that instant, know the other, and see, therefore, Orient and Occident cannot be parted forevermore. The poem became part of his West Eastern Divan, which Goethe was inspired to write when he read the first German translation of the Divan composed by the 14th century Persian poet Hafiz. Goethe called Hafiz his twin and decided to enter into a lyrical dialogue with the other. The Persian and Arabic word Divan means assembly. Hopefully Narguess is not going to correct me on that. Goethe proceeded to assemble his own divan of 12 books of poetry, calling them nameh, the Persian word for epic poem. He added a second part, Notes for a Better Understanding, which included a chapter on a prospective divan. Considering his own divan incomplete, it was his suggestion of how a divan might be attempted by poets and scholars in the future. The West Eastern Divan, published in 1819, was Goethe's very personal attempt to broaden the horizons of readers both ignorant and fearful of the Islamic world. From the time of the Persian Wars, the Orient had been seen as alien, as a threat to the West, a threat, however, that was central to the formation of Western identity. To everything, there is a season. These words open the scholarly essay part of the West Eastern Divan. Today, we face another era in which the West feels threatened by Islam, by the other, by the unknown, which, whilst understanding very little about what this means, is all too often equated with religious fundamentalism. To everything there is a season, Goethe said. and the season now seems right to attempt a divan for our times, a new divan. The new divan has a very clear start today and a very grand finish. Tonight, at the start, exactly 200 years after Goethe sent his poem to Mayana, we will hear from Iran's foremost novelist, Mahmoud Dowlatabadi, how Hafiz inspired Goethe. Joachim Sartorius, poet and former Secretary General of the Goethe Institut, will tell us how he and a small group of literary grandees will select 12 poets from the East and 12 from the West, who will enter into a lyrical dialogue with the other. Their works will be translated either via a bridging text or in a series of translation workshops in which translators and scholars will work together with English language poets to create interpretations of the original poem, a second lyrical dialogue, so to speak, which Narguess Farzad is going to have an expert, who is an expert, much more of an expert in translation than I am, an expert on classical and contemporary poetry, who specializes in translation, will speak about tonight. This great project, which we are launching tonight, will culminate in the new Divan, the Assembly of Dichter und Denker. In German, it's a very, very nice alliteration. Divan der Dichter und Denker. Lovely. Never mind. Didn't quite translate. Got lost in translation. But it will be an assembly of poets, scholars, and translators at the Barenboim Said Academy in Berlin in 2019 on the 200th anniversary of the publication of the West Eastern Divan. And I'm actually thrilled to say that the Dean of the Academy is here tonight. So, talk to him, blame him. We are celebrating this launch with a volume, which is meant to be an inspiration for this new Divan. It would not have been possible to put it together without the help of two men, to whom I owe a very special thank you tonight for this incredible feat. And these are Rahim Golami, where is he? Hiding. and my long-suffering deputy and fellow trustee, Harry Hall. They worked tirelessly to realize this perfect symbol of what we are launching today. Like the West Eastern Divan and the Gingko Library, it is two yet one. Part poetry, inspired by the other, part scholarly writing for a better understanding. On one side, the original work, on the other, the translation. This is a book, and I hold it up here, in 4 languages, with 2 beginnings, and therefore no end. And as great poetry is a symbol of our shared humanity, and as this project is supposed to foster better understanding, I have the support of my fellow trustees, and I checked with them. He's sitting there nodding. And the Vorstand der Stiftung Gingko Library, that the proceeds of the sale of this inspiration volume tonight will go towards supporting refugees which have appealed to our shared humanity and have been the victims of failings of a better understanding between East and West. In fact, tonight we have removed the price tag from the book in order not to put an upper limit to your generosity. So feel free to support this worthy cause. Dig deep, exactly. But I wanted to, of course, introduce you in person to also my author, Mahmoud, Dowlatabadi, who wanted to be with us tonight in person, but because of his failing health and other, certain problems which still separate us, has only been able to record a message, and now comes the challenge to the technically challenged Barbara. I have to hit this.